Eschatology 7, the creation of the world. To approach the question of creation, in question of Catholic theology, we do not only use the biblical revelation, we use it very little, if we want to know how it happened in practice. Indeed, the Bible, even if it presents a story that seems to indicate a chronology, is not intended to reveal how it happened but rather, why it happened. If we take the first story of the creation, for example, which indicates a story of the creation in 7 days, even if that sometimes corresponds scientifically, for example the material light created before the sun, that's what we can discover with Einstein's theory that was developed only a century ago, and well, this is not especially the purpose of this biblical story. The purpose of this biblical story is to first reveal that it is God who creates and that the matter, the sun, the stars, the animals, the spirits are only creatures. As for the order, if it turns out one day that scientifically this order is true, and well, so much the better. But it is not up to the Church to take care of it. In Catholic theology, the Church learns to use faith and reason as two affectionate, who walk together, and not to oppose them. For example, if the fossils indicate that there were dinosaurs, then there is no opposition to faith, on the contrary. This will allow us to better understand how the creation took place. But if reason claims that man is a dinosaur evolved but without spirit, and their reason probably exceeds his field and it is often an atheistic reason or rather an ideology that reason in the true sense, well, the Church distinguishes very well. So true science, that which is realistic, that which seeks to discover reality, presents no opposition. So, from the current science one can make a film more and more precise of what could happen. So what we know, which is obvious, after the fall of the demons, although God apparently suffered a failure, He did not stop there His creation. We can also wonder if it is really a failure, the fall of the demons in the deep sense of the term. Saint Thomas Aquinas says that not because the demons themselves in revolt finally make the deep will of God that created free beings and therefore free to reject love. Demons were respected by God in their choice. And since they are intelligent beings who do not lose anything of their natural faculties, we may think that they had a role, as expected, in the preparation of the world for the sake of man and woman. Then they had only one obsession, to prepare all that was necessary to harm, to the salvation of the man and the woman, while the good angels them, had only one aim, that to lead the man and woman who would be created later, to the beatific vision. It must be remembered that angels are not in time like us. They are in the aevum. That is, a succession of thoughts that are measured only by thought. So for them, who are outside of our time, the fact that the organization of the world until today has taken up to 15 billion years is not a problem. It's a world that has nothing to do with our time. One of the principles of theology is what is called the principle of subsidiarity. This is a principle used by Europe to let the regions take care of what concerns them. In theology, it is an absolute principle. Whenever God can do anything by His beloved creatures, He does not do it Himself, He makes them do it. Only God can create matter from nothing. So it was God who created the material at the beginning. Only God can create the spirits, and it is He who continues to create the spirits when the children are conceived. Only God can communicate grace and the beatific vision, and angels are only helpers. On the other hand, intelligent beings like angels, engineers, once the material is created, they can very well organize it. It's even their genius. We have seen that the order of the virtues, of the power, the order of domination are specialized precisely in this matter. Science discovers that over the course of billions of years, matter has been organized. And she tends to show that it could be done alone, for a lot of things. In our opinion, science goes too far. There are many things that cannot be done alone. In particular, there are 4 major organizational leaps. The first leap is the passage of this primitive material created in the Big Bang, which has been organized with such mathematical precision that science has not yet understood everything. We know that if a single little constant had changed, the world would have remained vague light and dispersed. But because of constants so fine that the fact that they appear in the original material is less likely than if with a sniper rifle was shot in a coin at the other end of the universe. Well, these constants have appeared. Well, one can think that the intelligence of the angels is not foreign to it. But physics is still in its infancy to be very specific in this area. So in the course of 10.5 billion years, according to current science, the world around us was only mineral. The galaxies were put in place, stars lit up, others went out, the matter became more complex, many things were done alone, at least it is that science believes, then this little planet called the Earth is forma. She was at the right distance, she gradually cooled, and at a certain moment, when she was cool enough, appeared the first living. The first alive is a first living with a DNA. He is able to feed and reproduce. Well, this first little microbe that was apparently breathing sulfides, this passage is an organizational leap that cannot, no doubt, not to be explained by matter alone, although some scientists think so. It's too vertical, too complex. DNA is like hyper-precise computer software that cannot be the result of chance. It is as if by throwing computer parts, we waited for a computer to be done alone. It is much simpler to admit that intelligences have made these jumps, these levels. The third uncrossable jump is what is called macroevolution. Microevolution is perfectly acceptable for small things, but when it comes to the appearance of a radically new organ, having a completely new function, cannot always be explained by evolution alone. It's perfectly impossible. It is clear that the theory of evolution alone blocks itself. So it is probable that for those leaps in evolution which bring forth completely new faculties, the intervention of those angelic engineers which St. Thomas Aquinas called the order of virtues was necessary. On the other hand, what one also observes while looking at the life, one notes that the angels have processes as do the current engineers, for example at Microsoft. They used the old one to make something new, without reinventing it every time. For example, the DNA that was present in the first microbes, which allowed cell division, cellular respiration, apparently it is very close to the DNA that is present in our cells. Why rewrite what worked well already? Finally, to sum up this chapter, let's say that Arnaud de Mouch tells us that it was the angels who organized the matter over the billions of years following the creation of the world. They made it evolve to arrive at what is today the universe. He says it's the same for the man. That the angels made the animal world evolve until the appearance of the hominids that prepared the creation of the first man, in which God breathed the human spirit, to bring forth the first man and the first woman to whom we gave the name of Adam and Eve. According to him, it is not only the fruit of evolution that has made it possible to reach the world today, but the fruit of a collaboration between God and the angels.